She collapsed against the door, baby silent in her arms. "Please," Sarah Whitmore begged the blizzard, "just bury my child." The door opened. A scarred mountain man stared at the bundle. "She's gone," Sarah sobbed. He ripped the blanket back, pressed 2 fingers to the baby's throat. His eyes snapped up. "She's got a pulse." Sarah's knees buckled. "What? Get inside, now." He carried her daughter toward the fire. "We're not burying anybody tonight." Subscribe now and stay until the end. Comment your city below so I can see how far this story reaches across the world. The door opened before Sarah's fist hit wood a 3rd time. A man stood there, tall, scarred face, long hair. He looked at Sarah, looked at the bundle in her arms. "Help," Sarah whispered. The man didn't move. "Please, my baby, she's not breathing. I just need—" Sarah's voice cracked. "Just bury her. I can't carry her anymore." The man stepped forward and grabbed the bundle from Sarah's arms. "Hey." He ignored her, pulled back the blanket, pressed 2 thick fingers against the baby's neck. His jaw tightened. "She's alive." Sarah's brain couldn't process the words. "What?" "Barely. Get inside." He turned and walked into the cabin. Sarah's legs stopped working. She hit the porch. The man looked back. "You want her to die, move." Sarah crawled through the door. The man kicked it shut behind her. The storm's roar cut to a muffled howl. Heat from a fireplace hit Sarah's face like a slap. The man Elias, though Sarah didn't know that yet, laid the baby on a table near the fire. He moved fast, unwrapped her, checked her breathing. "How long?" he asked. "What? How long since she stopped breathing?" Hours. Since sunset." "Damn it." Elias grabbed a kettle from the fire, soaked a cloth, pressed it to the baby's chest. Too cold, heart's barely moving. "Is she—" "Quiet." Sarah's mouth snapped shut. Elias worked. His hands were steady. He warmed the baby's core with hot cloths, checked her pulse every 30 seconds, tilted her head back. Then he breathed into her mouth. Sarah stopped breathing herself. Elias pressed 2 fingers to the baby's chest, pumped, counted under his breath, breathed into her mouth again. Nothing. More compressions. "Come on," Elias muttered. "Come on." Nothing. He breathed into her mouth a 3rd time. The baby coughed. Elias's hands froze. He waited. Another cough, then a gasp, then a tiny, weak cry. Sarah screamed. She didn't mean to. The sound just tore out of her. Elias wrapped the baby tight, held her against his chest, walked to the fire. "She's not safe yet," he said. "Fever's coming, maybe pneumonia. But she's alive. For now." Elias glanced at Sarah. "When'd you last eat?" "I don't—" "That's what I thought." He nodded toward the bed in the corner. "Sit before you fall." Sarah tried to stand. Her legs gave out. Elias caught her with his free arm, half carried, half dragged her to the bed, dropped her onto furs that smelled like smoke and pine. "Stay," he said. Then he went back to the fire with her daughter. Sarah tried to stay awake, tried to watch, but her eyes closed on their own. When Sarah woke, fire crackled nearby. The storm still howled outside. She sat up too fast, her head spun. "Easy." Elias sat in a chair near the fire. The baby Willa, Sarah's daughter, her only piece of heaven left, lay in his lap. He was feeding her something from a small cup, drops at a time. "What is that?" Sarah asked. "Willow bark tea, for the fever." "Is she—" "Alive, breathing, fighting." Elias didn't look up. "That's all we get for now." Sarah pushed off the bed, stumbled toward them. Elias's eyes cut to her. "You fall on this baby, I'll throw you back outside." Sarah stopped. "I need to hold her." "You need to be strong enough to hold her without dropping her." He nodded toward a pot hanging over the fire. "There's stew. Eat." "I'm not hungry." "I don't care. Eat." Sarah's jaw clenched, but she was too weak to argue. She grabbed a bowl, filled it. The stew was venison, thick and hot. She couldn't remember the last time she'd eaten real food. She sat on the floor near Elias, watched her daughter breathe. Thank you, Sarah whispered. Don't. You saved her life. I said don't. Elias's voice was flat. I'm not done yet. She makes it through the night. You can thank me then. Sarah ate in silence. After a minute, Elias spoke. What's your name? Sarah Whitmore. He nodded once. Elias Boon. How did you know what to do? I was a surgeon. Army. Was long time ago. Elias adjusted Willa in his arms. Your daughter's got Comanche blood. It wasn't a question. Sarah's spoon stopped halfway to her mouth. How? I know what mixed blood looks like. Elias finally looked at her. His eyes were hard. I was married to an Apache woman. Lived with her people for 6 years, so I'm asking, are men coming after you? Sarah set the bowl down. Her hands shook. Yes. How many? I don't know. Maybe the whole town. Town got a name. Shepherd's Cross. 15 miles south. Elias's jaw tightened. I know it. God-fearing folk. They killed my husband. Sarah's voice cracked. Hanged him for loving me. Elias said nothing. His name was James. James Standing Bear. Sarah wiped her eyes. He was kind, gentle. He came to my father's house to ask permission to marry me, brought gifts, followed every rule. Her hands clenched. My father called him an animal, had him arrested. They hanged him 3 days later. Your father's the preacher. Sarah's head snapped up. You know him. I know of him. Reverend Whitmore, fire and brimstone type, thinks Indians are demons in human skin. Elias looked back at Willa. He know about the baby. Yes. He tried to take her. He wanted me to give her to an orphanage, somewhere she could pass for white. Sarah's laugh was bitter. When I refused, he disowned me, stood in front of the whole church, and declared me dead. So you ran. I had nowhere else to go. Sarah's voice dropped. The town made sure of that, broke my windows, poisoned my garden. No one would hire me, no one would sell me food. When Willa got sick, the doctor wouldn't even look at her. Tears burned down her face. I used the last of my money on food. When that ran out, I started walking. Figured maybe I'd find another town, or maybe you'd both freeze and it'd be over. Elias finished. Sarah didn't answer. Willa coughed, a wet, rattling sound. Elias's hand moved to her chest, felt her breathing. Fever's climbing. What do? We fight. He stood, carried Willa to the table. Get me that jar, top shelf, left side. Sarah jumped up, grabbed the jar. What is it? Osha root. Ayana, my wife used it for lung fever. Elias crushed the root with the handle of his knife, dropped it into hot water. You're going to learn this. Pay attention. For the next hour, Elias taught Sarah how to fight for her daughter's life. He showed her how to brew the medicine, how to get Willa to swallow when she was barely conscious, how to read her breathing, her color, the temperature of her skin. You feel here. He guided Sarah's fingers to the soft spot on Willa's head. If it sinks, she's dying of thirst. If it bulges, her brain's swelling. You watch this like your life depends on it. It does, Sarah whispered. Elias almost smiled. They worked through the night, taking turns. When Willa's fever spiked, Elias stripped her down and wrapped her in cool cloths. When she shivered, he warmed her by the fire. Sarah watched this scarred, hard man fight for a child he didn't know. Why are you doing this? She asked. Elias didn't answer for a long time. He just kept working. Finally, he spoke. Because I couldn't save mine. Sarah went still. Ayana got pregnant, Elias said. His voice was flat, dead. We were happy, scared but happy. Then the baby came early. Wrong position. I tried everything, every technique I knew. He stopped. I was a surgeon. I'd saved dozens of lives. But I couldn't save hers. Couldn't save our son. I'm sorry, Sarah whispered. Sorry doesn't bring them back. Elias laid Willa down gently. I buried them under the pine tree behind this cabin. Swore I'd never practice medicine again. Swore I'd let myself die out here alone. He looked at Sarah. Then you knocked on my door with a dead baby, except she wasn't dead, and I heard Ayanna's voice clear as day. Fight. Tears ran down Sarah's face. So I'm fighting, Elias said. That's all. He turned back to the fire. Sarah wanted to say something, but words felt too small, so she just kept working. Boom. The storm raged for 2 more days. Willa's fever broke on the morning of the 3rd day. She woke up crying real angry cries and reached for Sarah. Sarah sobbed, grabbed her daughter, held her so tight Willa squirmed. Elias watched from the table. He was carving something from wood. She's hungry, that's good. She's alive, Sarah breathed. She's really alive. Told you, she's a fighter. Sarah fed Willa warm broth, watched her drink, watched her eyes focus and clear. I don't know how to repay you, Sarah said. Don't want repayment. Then what do you want? Elias set down his knife, looked at the storm outside, then at Sarah and Willa. I want you to stay, he said. Sarah blinked. What, for the winter, at least? Elias's voice was careful. You've got nowhere to go. Willa needs to get strong. And he stopped. I could use the help, hunting, trapping, keeping this place running. I can't impose. It's not charity. Elias's eyes met hers. You work, I work. We split the load. Partners. Partners. Sarah looked at her daughter, thought about the town that had cast them out, the father who'd declared her dead, the world that had no place for them. Then she looked at this broken man who'd fought death itself to save her child. Partners, she agreed. Elias nodded. Good. He went back to carving. Sarah noticed what he was making, a small wooden bird, wings spread. For Willa, Elias said without looking up, when she's older. Something in Sarah's chest broke open. Elias, yeah, you're a good man. His hands stopped moving. No, he said quietly, I'm just a man who got a second chance. 3 weeks passed. The snow stopped. The world turned white and silent. Sarah learned to split wood, to skin rabbits, to read the weather in the clouds. Elias taught her everything. He was patient, thorough. He never treated her like she was weak or stupid. You're smart, he said one afternoon while teaching her to set traps. You learn fast. Sarah flushed. James used to say that. He was right. They worked in comfortable silence after that. In the evening, Sarah would read to Elias from his few books. He listened like every word mattered. Sometimes he'd ask her to explain things. Sometimes he'd just sit and carve while her voice filled the cabin. Willa grew stronger every day. She smiled, laughed, reached for both of them. One night, Elias held her while Sarah cooked dinner. Willa grabbed his finger, wouldn't let go. She likes you, Sarah said. She's got poor taste. But Elias's voice was soft. Sarah turned from the fire. Watched this hard, scarred man hold her daughter like she was made of glass. You'd have been a good father, she said quietly. Elias's face tightened. Don't. It's true. I said don't. He handed Willa back to Sarah, stood. I'm going to check the traps. He grabbed his coat and walked out into the snow. Sarah watched him go, held Willa close. He's hurting, she whispered to her daughter. We have to be patient. Willa yawned. Sarah smiled. Spring came slowly. The snow started melting. Water dripped from the roof. Birds returned. Elias seemed tense. He checked the ridge above the cabin every morning, kept his rifle close. What's wrong? Sarah asked. Nothing. You're lying. Elias looked at her. Spring means the pass opens, means people can get up here. Sarah's stomach dropped. You think they'll come looking? I know they will. Elias's jaw tightened. Men like your father don't forget, don't forgive. They'll want to finish what they started. Then what do? We get ready. Elias taught Sarah to shoot. She was a terrible shot at first, but she practiced every day. Within 2 weeks, she could hit a tree at 50 yards. Good, Elias said. Now aim for center mass. You're not trying to wound, you're trying to stop." Sarah's hands shook. "I don't know if I can." "You will if you have to." Elias's eyes were hard. "They won't show you mercy. Don't show them any either." Sarah nodded. That night she couldn't sleep. She lay in bed listening to Willa breathe and wondered if she could actually shoot another human being. The answer came 2 weeks later. Sarah was hanging laundry when she heard horses. 5 riders crested the ridge. They wore dark coats, carried rifles. The man in front was young, blonde, handsome in a cold way. Sarah's blood turned to ice. Thomas Whitmore, her brother. She grabbed Willa and ran for the cabin. "Elias!" He was already at the door, rifle in hand. "Get inside, bar the door. Don't open it unless I tell you. They'll kill you. They'll try." His eyes met hers. "Trust me." Sarah hesitated, then nodded. She went inside, dropped the bar across the door, pressed her back against the wood, held Willa tight. Outside she heard horses stop. Boots hit the ground. "Well, well," Thomas's voice rang out. "The traitor hermit, I've heard stories about you, Boon." "Then you know to turn around." Elias's voice was calm. "Nothing for you here." "That's where you're wrong," Thomas laughed. "My sister's here, the whore, and her half-breed bastard." Sarah's hands clenched. "Don't know what you're talking about," Elias said. "Don't lie to me." Thomas's voice turned sharp. "We tracked her, followed her trail up here 2 months ago, figured the cold would finish the job, but then smoke started coming from your chimney again. More smoke than one man needs." Silence. "She's inside, isn't she?" Thomas said. "Sarah, come out. Father wants to talk." Sarah pressed her fist to her mouth. Willa started to cry. "Hear that?" Thomas laughed. "That's the sound of sin, boys. The sound of a white woman defiling herself with a savage." "Leave," Elias said. His voice was deadly quiet. "Last warning. Or what you'll shoot 5 armed men." "If I have to." Sarah heard a gun cock. "You'd die for a whore and her bastard?" Thomas asked. "I'd die for what's right." Elias's voice didn't waver. "And right now, that means you leaving, or staying here forever." Silence stretched. Then Thomas laughed again. "You're insane." "Probably." More silence. Finally, Thomas spoke. "We'll be back, with more men, and next time we're burning this place to the ground. Looking forward to it." Horses moved, rode back down the ridge. Sarah waited, counted to 100, then 200. Finally, Elias knocked on the door. "It's me." She lifted the bar. Elias stepped inside. He was pale, sweating. His hands shook as he set down the rifle. "They're gone," he said. Sarah collapsed against him. He caught her, held her. "They're coming back," Sarah whispered. "Pan, with more men, we have to run." "No." Elias's arms tightened around her. "We don't run, not anymore. They'll kill us. Then we die fighting." He pulled back, looked her in the eyes. "I spent 6 years running from who I was, from what I lost. I'm done running. This is my home. You and Willa, you're my family now. And I'll be damned if I let anyone take that from me again." Sarah stared at him, saw the fire in his eyes, the certainty. "Okay," she whispered. "We fight." Elias nodded. Outside, the mountains stood silent, but somewhere down in Shepherd's Cross men were gathering, and when they came, blood would stain the snow. Thomas Whitmore didn't come back the next day, or the day after that. The waiting was worse than the threat. Elias spent every morning on the ridge watching the pass. Sarah practiced shooting until her shoulders ached. At night, they took turns keeping watch while Willa slept between them. "How long do you think we have?" Sarah asked on the 3rd night. Elias cleaned his rifle by firelight. "Week, maybe 2. Depends how many men your brother can rally." "He'll rally plenty." Sarah's voice was bitter. "My father's been preaching about me for months. The fallen daughter, the cautionary tale. Half the town thinks I'm the reason their crops failed last summer. People are idiots. People are scared. Scared people need someone to blame." Sarah watched Willa sleep. "I'm easy to blame." Elias set down the rifle, looked at her. You regret it loving James? Never. Sarah's answer came fast. Sure. He was the best thing that ever happened to me. Even knowing how it ended, I'd choose him again, every time. Something shifted in Elias's face. Ayanna used to say that. Said she'd marry me again, even knowing she'd die young. Said some things are worth dying for. She was right. Yeah, Elias picked up the rifle again. She usually was. They sat in silence after that, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the silence of two people who understood each other's grief. On the fourth day, Sarah found Elias behind the cabin, standing at a grave marked with 2 wooden crosses. She almost turned back, but he spoke without looking at her. Her name was Ayanna. His name was Thomas. His voice was rough. We were going to call him Tommy. She wanted an American name, thought it might help him fit in better. He laughed bitter. Stupid, like a name could have protected him. Sarah stood beside him. How old was he? Never got to find out. He was born dead. Elias's hands clenched. I tried everything, cleared his airway, breathed for him, but his heart never started. And Ayanna, she bled too much, too fast. I couldn't stop it. It wasn't your fault. I was a surgeon. I'd delivered dozens of babies. But when it mattered most, his voice cracked. I failed them both. Sarah took his hand. He flinched but didn't pull away. You didn't fail, she said. Sometimes there's nothing anyone can do. Sometimes her throat closed. Sometimes the world just takes what it wants. Elias looked at their joined hands. James was lucky to have someone love him like you did. I was the lucky one. They stood there until the cold drove them inside. That night Elias gave Sarah something wrapped in cloth. What is it? She asked. Open it. She unwrapped a small turquoise earring. Beautiful, delicate. It was Ayanna's, Elias said. Her grandmother gave it to her. She wore it every day. He swallowed hard. I want you to have it. Sarah's hands shook. I can't. You can. You should. Elias's voice was firm. She'd want someone to wear it. Someone who understands what it means to love across lines people draw in the sand. Sarah's vision blurred. She put the earring on. Elias nodded once. Looks good. Later, Sarah caught her reflection in the window. The turquoise caught the firelight. She touched it gently. Behind her, Elias held Willa and sang something low, in Apache. The baby's eyes drooped. Sarah turned, watched them, and felt something dangerous bloom in her chest. Hope. On the 7th day, the weather turned. Dark clouds rolled in from the north. The temperature dropped 20 degrees in an hour. Storm's coming, Elias said. Big one. Will that stop them? Maybe, maybe not. He secured the shutters. But it gives us more time. The storm hit that night. Wind howled like wolves. Snow fell so thick Sarah couldn't see 5 feet past the window. Willa cried, frightened by the noise. Shh, baby girl. Sarah rocked her. It's just wind, just wind. But even Sarah didn't believe it. Elias sat by the door, rifle across his knees. They won't come in this. No one's that stupid. My brother is. Then he'll freeze before he gets here. The storm lasted 3 days. When it finally broke, 4 feet of fresh snow covered everything. Elias went out to check the traps. He came back 2 hours later, his face grim. What's wrong? Sarah asked. Tracks, fresh ones, leading up from the south. Sarah's blood went cold. How many? Hard to say. Snow's covering them fast, but more than 5. He bolted the door. They're scouting, figuring out our defenses. So they're coming soon. Tomorrow, maybe tonight. Elias loaded his rifle, checked his pistol. You remember what I taught you? Sarah nodded. Her hands were steady, even though her heart hammered. Good. Elias handed her a knife. Keep this close. If anyone gets inside, I know what to do. He studied her face. You're stronger than you think. I learned from the best. Elias almost smiled. They spent the rest of the day preparing. Elias moved furniture to block the windows. Sarah filled every pot and bucket with water in case they tried to burn them out. Willa sensed the tension and cried more than usual. "It's okay, baby," Sarah whispered. "Mama's here. Elias is here. We won't let anything happen to you." As the sun set, Elias pulled Sarah aside. "If things go bad," he said quietly, "there's a root cellar under the cabin, trapdoors hidden under that bearskin rug. You take Willa and hide there. Don't come out until you're sure they're gone." "What about you?" "I'll handle it." "That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting." His eyes were hard. "Promise me you'll protect her first, no matter what." Sarah wanted to argue, but she saw the fear behind his eyes, not fear for himself, fear for them. "I promise," she whispered. Elias nodded, started to turn away. "Elias," he stopped. "Thank you for everything, for saving her, for saving me." Sarah's voice broke. "If something happens, I need you to know nothing's going to happen. But if it does, it won't." He turned back, cupped her face in his rough hands. "We're going to be fine, all three of us. You hear me?" Sarah nodded, even though neither of them believed it. That night they took turns sleeping, or trying to. Every sound outside made them jump. Every shadow looked like a man with a gun. Around midnight, Willa started crying. Sarah picked her up. "Shh, baby, shh." But Willa wouldn't stop. She cried and cried, her face red. "What's wrong?" Elias asked. "I don't know." "She's hot." Sarah pressed her lips to Willa's forehead. "Too hot." Elias touched the baby's skin. His jaw tightened. "Fever's back." "No, no, not now. Give her to me." Elias took Willa gently, started making medicine. "It's the stress. Babies feel it. Her body's trying to fight something that isn't there. Will she be okay? She will if we keep her calm." He mixed herbs into warm water. "Sing to her something soft." Sarah's mind went blank. Then, without thinking, she started singing an old Comanche lullaby, one James had taught her. Elias looked up sharply. "James sang it to me," Sarah explained, "when I was pregnant. Said his mother sang it to him." "Keep going," Sarah sang. Her voice shook at first, then steadied. The words came back like muscle memory. Willa's cries quieted, her eyes drooped. Elias smiled. "It's working." Sarah kept singing until Willa fell asleep. "That was beautiful," Elias said quietly. "James had a good voice, better than mine." "I bet he did." Elias laid Willa down carefully. "She's lucky to have pieces of both her parents in her. I hope she remembers him, even just a little." "She will. You'll make sure of it." They sat by the fire watching Willa sleep. Outside, the wind picked up again. "Storm's coming back," Elias said. "Good, let it." But the storm didn't save them. Just before dawn, Sarah heard horses. She shook Elias awake. "They're here." Elias was on his feet instantly. He grabbed his rifle, looked out through a crack in the shutters. "How many?" Sarah whispered. "Vahoid. 8, maybe 9. His voice was calm, too calm. "All armed." Sarah's heart hammered. "What do we do?" "You take Willa to the cellar, now." Elias, "Now, Sarah." She wanted to argue, but Willa whimpered in her sleep. Sarah scooped her up, pulled back the bearskin rug, and lifted the trapdoor. The cellar was small, dark, barely room for 2 people. Sarah climbed down with Willa, looked up at Elias. "Don't die," she said. "Wasn't planning on it." He tried to smile, failed. "Stay quiet, no matter what you hear." He closed the trapdoor. Sarah sat in the darkness, holding Willa tight, listening. Outside, horses stopped. Boots hit the ground. "Elias Boon," Thomas's voice rang out. "We know she's in there. Send her out and we'll let you live." Silence. "Don't be stupid, Boon. You're outnumbered, outgunned. Give us the whore and walk away." More silence. Then Elias's voice, calm and clear. "Go home, boy, before this ends badly for you." Thomas laughed. "You think you scare me, you think—" A gunshot cracked the air. Sarah flinched. Willa started crying. Shut up, Sarah whispered desperately, covering Willa's mouth gently. Please, baby, please. More gunshots, men shouting, glass shattered. Burn it, Thomas screamed. Burn the whole damn thing. Sarah smelled smoke. No. Something heavy hit the cabin floor above her. Footsteps. Where is she? Thomas's voice inside now. Where's my sister? Gone, Elias said. His voice was strained, hurt. Left 2 days ago. Liar. A sickening thud, a grunt of pain. Where is she? I said she's gone, Elias coughed. You're too late. Then you die for nothing. Another thud. Sarah bit her fist to keep from screaming. Willa cried louder. Above them, Thomas stopped. Do you hear that silence? There. Thomas's voice moved closer. Under the floor. Footsteps. Right above Sarah's head. Found you. The trapdoor flew open. Light blinded Sarah. Hands grabbed her, dragged her up. No. She kicked, fought. Let go. Thomas ripped Willa from her arms. Sarah screamed. Shut her up, Thomas said coldly. Someone hit Sarah across the face. Her vision exploded with stars. When she could see again, Thomas held Willa like she was a dead animal. The baby screamed, reaching for Sarah. This is what sin looks like, Thomas said. He held Willa up for his men to see. This abomination, this half-breed mistake. Give her back, Sarah sobbed. Please, she's just a baby. She's proof of your shame. Thomas looked at her with disgust. Father wanted me to bring you home, to repent, but I see now there's no saving you. Across the room, Elias lay on the floor, bleeding from his head. His eyes were open, watching. Kill them both, Thomas said. Burn the bodies. No one needs to know. One of the men raised his rifle, and Elias moved. He was fast, faster than a wounded man should be. He grabbed the rifle from the mantel above him, swung it like a club. The first man went down hard. Elias fired. The second man dropped. Chaos erupted. Men dove for cover. Thomas stumbled backward, still holding Willa. Sarah lunged for her daughter. Thomas shoved her away. Shoot him, shoot! Elias fired again. 3 men down, 4. The remaining men ran, crashed through the door, jumped on their horses. Thomas stood frozen, looking at the bodies. At Elias, who now pointed the rifle at his head. Give her the baby, Elias said quietly. Last chance. Thomas's face twisted, but he shoved Willa at Sarah. Sarah grabbed her daughter, held her so tight Willa squeaked. Get out, Elias said. Thomas backed toward the door. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Elias's finger tightened on the trigger. You come back here. I won't give warnings. I won't talk. I'll just shoot. Understand? Thomas's face went white. He nodded. Go. Thomas ran. They heard his horse gallop away into the dawn. Elias lowered the rifle, swayed, collapsed. Elias. Sarah rushed to him, Willa still in her arms. Oh God, blood. So much blood. From his head, his shoulder, his side. I'm okay, Elias mumbled. Just need a minute. His eyes rolled back. No. Sarah pressed her hand to his head wound. Blood poured through her fingers. Don't you dare die on me, Elias. He didn't respond. Sarah looked around wildly. The cabin was destroyed. Furniture smashed, windows broken, 4 bodies on the floor. She was alone, with a baby and a dying man. Think, she whispered. Think. The herbs, Elias's medicine. Sarah laid Willa on the bed, wrapped her tight so she couldn't roll. Then she went to work. Her hands shook, but she remembered everything Elias had taught her. She found yarrow for bleeding, comfrey for wounds. She boiled water, made poultices. She cleaned Elias's wounds as best she could. The head injury looked bad. The shoulder was worse, a bullet still lodged inside. I have to get it out, she told his unconscious body. I'm sorry, this is going to hurt. She heated Elias's knife in the fire, bit her lip, dug into his shoulder. Elias screamed. His eyes flew open. I'm sorry. Sarah kept going, found the bullet, pulled it out. Elias passed out again. Sarah packed the wound with herbs, bandaged it tight. did the same for his head and side. By the time she finished, dawn, light filled the cabin. Willa was crying, hungry. Sarah fed her with shaking hands, then collapsed beside Elias, checking his breathing every few seconds. "Don't die," she whispered. "Please don't die. I can't do this without you. Willa needs you. I need—" Her voice broke. "I need you." Elias's eyes opened to slits. "Sarah, I'm here." "Willa, she's safe. You saved her. You saved both of us." He tried to smile. "Good." His eyes closed again. Sarah held his hand and prayed to a God she wasn't sure was listening anymore, but someone was, because Elias kept breathing. Over the next 3 days, Sarah fought to keep him alive the way he'd fought for Willa. She changed his bandages, forced medicine down his throat, kept him warm. On the 4th day, his fever broke. On the 5th, he woke up clear-eyed. "Sarah." She was beside him instantly. "How do you feel?" "Like I got shot 3 times. "Only twice." The head was blunt force. "Oh, that's better." He tried to sit up, groaned. "Don't move, you're still healing." "The cabin is a mess, but standing." Sarah helped him drink water. "I cleaned up the bodies, dragged them outside, covered them with snow." Elias stared at her. "You did that?" "Someone had to." "Sarah, I'm not the same woman who knocked on your door 3 months ago." Her voice was steady. "I'm not helpless anymore. You taught me that." Elias reached up, touched her face. "You were never helpless. You were just scared. There's a difference." Sarah leaned into his hand. "I thought you were going to die." "I thought so too. I wouldn't have survived that." "Yes, you would. You're stronger than you know." Sarah wanted to argue, but she didn't. Instead, she kissed his palm and went to check on Willa. 2 weeks later, Elias could stand without help, walk without collapsing. His wounds were healing, though the scars would stay forever. "Matches the others," he said, looking at his reflection. "You wear them well," Sarah said. He laughed, actually laughed. It was the first time she'd heard him do that. Spring arrived in earnest. The snow melted, green pushed through the mud, birds sang. Sarah planted a garden behind the cabin. Elias rebuilt the broken furniture. Together they patched the walls and replaced the shattered windows. One evening, while Willa played on a blanket, Sarah found Elias standing at Ayanna's grave. She stood beside him. "I told her about you," Elias said, "about Sarah and Willa, about what happened." He was quiet for a moment. "I think she approves." "I hope so. She would have liked you." He glanced at Sarah. "You're a lot like her, stubborn, strong, willing to fight for what matters." "She sounds incredible." She was. Elias smiled. "You are too." Sarah's breath caught. Before she could respond, Willa shrieked a happy sound. They turned. She'd pulled herself up, was standing. Wobbling, but standing. "Elias, I see her." They watched Willa take one step, then another. Then she fell on her bottom and laughed. Sarah laughed too, ran over, scooped her up. "You did it. You walked." Elias joined them, ruffled Willa's hair. "That's my girl." Sarah looked at him. "Your girl. Our girl," he corrected quietly. The word hung between them. Our. Sarah smiled. "Yeah, our girl." That night after Willa fell asleep, Sarah and Elias sat by the fire. "Thomas won't come back," Elias said. "Not after losing 4 men. Your father might try something else, but not him." "Good. We're safe here, for now." "For now," Sarah agreed. Elias looked at her, really looked at her. "Sarah." "Yeah. I'm glad you knocked on my door." Her throat tightened. "Me too. I mean it. You and Willa." He stopped, started again. "You brought life back to this place, back to me. I didn't think that was possible anymore." "Elias, let me finish." He took her hand. "I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other a few months. But I need you to know." He swallowed hard. "You're not just my partner. You're my family, both of you. And I'll protect you with everything I have, for as long as I'm breathing." Tears ran down Sarah's face. I love you, Elias said simply. I didn't mean to, but I do. Sarah kissed him. It was soft, gentle, full of everything words couldn't say. When they pulled apart, Elias touched his forehead to hers. I love you too, Sarah whispered. Is that okay? It's more than okay. They sat like that until the fire burned low. Outside, the mountain stood guard. The cabin held strong, and inside, two broken people became whole again. But neither of them saw the rider watching from the trees, or the letter in his pocket addressed to Reverend Whitmore. The war wasn't over yet. The rider left before dawn, but Elias saw the tracks 2 days later. He didn't tell Sarah right away. She was teaching Willa to say mama, and the baby kept saying baba instead, making them both laugh. Elias watched from the doorway, memorizing the sound. Later, while Sarah napped with Willa, he followed the tracks down the mountain. They led south, toward Shepherd's Cross. When he came back, Sarah was awake, worry written across her face. Where were you? Scouting. Elias cleaned his rifle. Someone's been watching us. Sarah's hands stilled on the shirt she was mending. Thomas, don't think so. Tracks were smaller, lighter. He looked at her. Could be a scout, could be someone your father sent. How long have they been watching? Hard to say. Days, maybe weeks. Sarah set down the mending. Her jaw tightened. What do? We stay ready. Elias loaded the rifle, and we don't go anywhere alone. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. But the tension never left. Every sound made them jump. Every shadow looked like a threat. Elias taught Sarah to shoot better, made her practice until she could hit a target at 100 yards. You're good, he said, watching her reload. I have a good teacher. You have good instincts. He adjusted her stance. Trust them. Sarah looked at him. You think they're really coming back? I know they are. Men like your father, they don't forgive, they don't forget, and they sure as hell don't give up. Then we should leave, go somewhere they can't find us. Where? Elias's voice was gentle. This is my home, Sarah. Ayana's buried here, my son. I can't just walk away from that. But if you die, I won't. He took her face in his hands. We won't. We're going to fight, and we're going to win. You hear me? Sarah wanted to believe him, but fear had teeth, and they were sharp. That night, Willa woke up screaming. Sarah rushed to her. What's wrong, baby? But Willa wasn't sick. She was terrified. She clung to Sarah, sobbing, pointing at the window. She saw something, Elias said. He grabbed his rifle, moved to the window. Nothing but darkness. Maybe it was a dream, Sarah whispered. But Willa kept crying, kept pointing. Elias opened the door slowly, stepped outside. Sarah held her breath. A minute passed. 2. Then Elias came back inside, his face grim. What is it? He held up a piece of paper, nailed to the door with a knife. Sarah took it with shaking hands. Read it by firelight. The sins of the mother fall upon the child. Repent or burn. You have 7 days. It was signed with her father's name. Sarah's hands crumpled the paper. 7 days. They're trying to scare us, Elias said. It's working. Good. Elias took the paper from her, threw it in the fire. Fear keeps you sharp, keeps you alive. What if it's not enough? Then we make it enough. He pulled Sarah close. We've survived worse than this. We'll survive this too. But that night, neither of them slept. They took turns watching the door, the windows, the darkness that seemed to press closer with every passing hour. On the 2nd day, they found dead animals on their doorstep, rabbits with their throats cut, a deer gutted and left to rot. They're trying to break us, Elias said, burying the carcasses. Make us scared, make us run. Maybe we should run. We're not running. His voice was hard, final. Sarah helped him dig. You're stubborn. You love me anyway. Despite everything, Sarah smiled. Yeah, I do. On the 3rd day, smoke rose from the valley below, not from chimneys, from something bigger. What is that? Sarah asked. Elias stared through his scope. His face went pale. The McAllister farm. They're burning it. Why would they? To send a message. Elias lowered the scope. The McAllisters let me trade with them, didn't care that I was married to an Apache. Your father's punishing anyone who helped me, helped us. Sarah's stomach turned. This is my fault. This is your father's fault, not yours. Elias grabbed his coat. I'm going down there, see if I can help. You can't. It's a trap. Maybe, but I can't just let them burn. Then I'm coming with you. No, you stay with Willa. Keep her safe. Elias. He kissed her, hard and fast. I'll be back. I promise. He left before she could argue. Sarah spent the next 4 hours pacing, checking the windows, holding Willa so tight the baby squirmed. When Elias finally came back, he was covered in soot, exhausted. The McAllisters, Sarah asked, got out, barely. Elias washed his face in the basin. But the farm's gone, everything they built, 20 years of work, just gone. Did they say who did it? Didn't have to. I saw the horses, recognized 2 of them from your father's stable. Sarah sank into a chair. He's going to burn us too. He's going to try. Elias sat beside her. But we're not the McAllisters. We're ready for this. Are we? He took her hand. We have to be. On the 4th day, a boy showed up at their door. Couldn't have been more than 10. Skinny, dirty, scared. Elias kept the rifle pointed at him. Who sent you? Reverend Whitmore, sir. The boy's voice shook. He says if Miss Sarah comes home and repents, he'll let you live. But if she don't, he swallowed. He's coming in 3 days, with 30 men, and he's gonna burn this place to ash. Sarah stepped forward. Tell my father I said he can go to hell. The boy's eyes went wide. Tell him, Sarah continued, her voice steel, that I'm not his daughter anymore, that I'm not afraid of him, and that if he comes here, he'll find out just how much his fallen daughter learned about surviving. Yes, ma'am. The boy turned to run. Wait, Elias tossed him a piece of bread. You eat today. The boy shook his head. Take it, and don't come back here. It's not safe. The boy grabbed the bread and ran. Sarah watched him disappear down the trail. 30 men. 30 scared men following a scared preacher, Elias said. We can handle it. How? We use the mountain. Elias moved to the table, started drawing in the dust. They'll come up the main trail. It's narrow, only 3 horses wide. We set traps here, here, and here, make them dismount, fight on foot. And then we hold the cabin, pick them off one by one. He looked at her. But you and Willa, you're leaving. Like hell. Sarah, his voice cracked. I can't fight if I'm worried about you. Please, take Willa. Go to the McAllisters. They'll hide you until this is over. And if you lose, I won't. But if you do, then you raise our daughter. Tell her about me, about Ayanna, about James. Make sure she knows she comes from people who fought for love. Tears shone in his eyes. Can you do that? Sarah's throat closed. Don't ask me to leave you. I'm not asking. I'm begging. He pulled her close. Please, Sarah, let me do this. Let me protect you the only way I know how. Sarah buried her face in his chest. I hate this. I know. I love you. I know that too. They held each other until Willa cried for attention. That night, Sarah packed supplies, dried meat, water, blankets, everything Willa would need. Elias sharpened his knives, loaded every gun he owned, set traps along the trail. Just before midnight, he came to bed. Sarah was awake holding Willa. Can't sleep, he asked. Don't want to waste the time. Elias lay beside them, put his arm around both. Tell me something good, something happy. Sarah thought. When Willa took her first steps, the look on your face like you'd just seen a miracle. It was a miracle. She was supposed to die that first night, but she didn't, because she's a fighter, like her mama. Like her papa, too. Elias smiled. Yeah, like her papa. They lay there in the darkness pretending tomorrow wasn't coming, but it came anyway. At dawn, Sarah kissed Elias goodbye. She tried to memorize everything. The scar on his jaw, the gray in his hair, the way his hands felt against her face. "Come back to me," she whispered. "Always." He kissed Willa's head. "Be good for your mama, little one." Willa grabbed his finger, wouldn't let go. Elias gently pried her loose, handed her to Sarah, turned away before they could see him cry. Sarah walked down the mountain with Willa on her back. She didn't look back. If she did, she'd never leave. The McAllisters took them in without question. Mrs. McAllister, a tough woman with kind eyes, set them up in the barn. "You're safe here," she said, "as safe as anywhere right now." "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Thank Elias. He pulled my husband from the fire, saved his life." She squeezed Sarah's shoulder. "We owe him everything." That night Sarah couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. She just held Willa and waited. Around noon the next day she heard horses, lots of them. Mrs. McAllister came running. "Stay in the barn. Don't make a sound." "Is it my father?" "Yes, and he brought an army." Sarah's heart stopped. She pressed her hand over Willa's mouth, listened. Her father's voice rang out. "Where is she, Margaret?" "I don't know what you're talking about, Reverend." "Don't lie to me. I know she's here. The boy saw her heading this direction. Maybe she kept walking. Maybe she's halfway to the next territory by now." "Search the property," her father ordered. Son. Footsteps. Men shouting. Doors slamming. Sarah held Willa tighter. The baby squirmed, but didn't cry. The barn door opened. Sarah pressed herself into the corner, barely breathing. A man walked in, young, scared-looking. He poked through the hay with a pitchfork. He was 3 feet away when Willa sneezed. The man froze, looked right at them. Sarah met his eyes, saw recognition, saw fear. He opened his mouth. Sarah raised the knife Elias had given her, shook her head slowly. The man stared at the knife, at Willa, at Sarah's desperate face. He closed his mouth, turned around, walked out. "Nothing here," he called, "just hay and rats." Sarah collapsed against the wall. Willa started crying. "Shh, baby, shh." Sarah rocked her. "Thank you, God, thank you." Outside, her father cursed. "Mount up. We're going to Boon's cabin. If she's not here, she's there." "But Reverend," someone said, "you told her 3 days." "I lied. We attack now, while Boone's alone, while he's not expecting us." Sarah's blood turned to ice. Elias thought he had 2 more days. He wasn't ready. He'd be slaughtered. She handed Willa to Mrs. McAllister. "Hide her, please." "Where are you going?" "To save my family." Sarah ran. She took a shortcut up the mountain one Elias had shown her. Steep, dangerous, but faster. Her lungs burned, her legs screamed. She didn't stop. She could hear the horses behind her, gaining. "Please," she gasped. "Please let me get there first." She crested the ridge just as the sun touched the horizon, saw the cabin below, saw Elias outside chopping wood. "Elias," she screamed. He looked up, saw her, saw the riders behind her. He dropped the axe, grabbed his rifle, started running toward her. Sarah stumbled down the slope, her foot caught. She fell, rolled, hit her head on a rock. The world spun. Sarah, Elias's voice. Close now, hands lifted her. "Can you walk? They're coming, 30 of them. Elias, they're—" "I know, I see them." He pulled her to her feet. "We need to get to the cabin." They ran. Sarah's vision blurred, but she kept moving. They reached the cabin as the first riders crested the ridge. Elias slammed the door, dropped the bar, shoved Sarah toward the cellar. "No," she said, "not this time. We fight together." Sarah, together. She grabbed a rifle, loaded it. "I'm not leaving you." Elias looked at her, saw the determination in her eyes, the love, the fear. "Okay," he said quietly. "Together." They took positions at the windows, waited. Reverend Whitmore rode up first. He looked older than Sarah remembered, harder. "Sarah," he called, "I know you're in there. Come out, face your judgment." Elias fired a warning shot over his head. The Reverend's horse reared. "You dare! Next one goes through your chest," Elias shouted. "Turn around, last chance. I'm taking my daughter home, even if I have to drag her body back." "She's not your daughter anymore," Sarah yelled. "You made sure of that when you killed the man I loved." That savage deserved to hang. James was twice the man you'll ever be. Sarah's voice broke. He was kind, gentle. He loved me for who I was, not who you wanted me to be. He poisoned your mind. No, you did that yourself, with your hate, your judgment, your goddamn self-righteousness. Sarah was crying now. I hope you rot for what you did to him, to us, to your own grandchild. Silence. Then her father's voice, cold as death. So be it, burn them out. Men dismounted, lit torches. Here we go, Elias muttered. He aimed carefully, fired. A man dropped his torch, screamed, grabbed his leg. Sarah fired, missed. Breathe, Elias said. Aim for center mass. Breathe out, squeeze. She fired again. Another man dropped. Torches flew through the air, hit the cabin walls, the roof. Smoke filled the room. We can't stay here, Elias coughed. We'll cook. Then what? We make a run for it. Get to the trees, fight from there. They'll shoot us the second we open the door. Probably. Elias reloaded. But it's better than burning alive. Sarah's hands shook. Okay. Elias kissed her. Fast, hard. I love you. No matter what happens next, I love you. I love you too. He kicked open the door. They ran into hell. Gunfire erupted. Sarah felt a bullet whip past her ear. Another hit the ground near her feet. Elias fired as he ran, covering her, protecting her. They made it to the trees, Dove behind a boulder. You hit? Elias asked. No, you. I'm good. More gunshots. Men advancing. Elias picked them off one by one. 3 down, 4, 5. But there were too many. A bullet hit the boulder, sprayed Sarah with rock dust. We can't hold this position, Elias said. We need to move. Where? Up, higher ground. They ran, zigzagging between trees, using the mountain itself as cover. Behind them, Sarah's father screamed orders. Find them! Kill them both! Sarah's lungs burned. Her head throbbed where she'd hit it, but she kept moving. They reached an outcropping, defensible, good sightlines. Elias immediately started firing. Sarah reloaded for him, handed him fresh ammunition. They moved like one person. 6 men down now, 7, but the cabin was fully ablaze. Flames reached toward the darkening sky. Sarah watched it burn, watched their home, the place where she'd found hope, again turn to ash. I'm sorry, she whispered. It's just a building, Elias said. You're what matters, you and Willa. More men advanced. Elias fired until his rifle clicked empty. Switched to his pistol. 8 down, 9. The men started retreating, dragging their wounded. Sarah's father stood his ground. Cowards, finish them. But his men were done. They'd come for an easy fight. This wasn't easy. It's over, Reverend, Elias called. You lost. Go home. This isn't over, her father snarled. I'll be back, with more men, with the law. Bring whoever you want. We'll be ready. Her father stared at the outcropping, at the cabin burning below, at the bodies of his men scattered across the mountain. Then he turned his horse and rode away. The remaining men followed. Sarah and Elias waited, making sure it wasn't a trick. Finally, Elias lowered his pistol. They're gone. Sarah collapsed. All the fear, all the adrenaline, it drained out at once. We did it, she breathed. We actually did it. Elias sank down beside her, put his arm around her. Yeah, we did. They sat there watching their cabin burn and felt nothing but gratitude to be alive. Later, after the fire died to embers, they went down to assess the damage. The cabin was gone. Everything in it. The furniture, the supplies, the clothes. But Ayanna's grave was untouched, protected by distance and luck. Sarah stood at the grave. I'm sorry we brought this to your home. She'd understand, Elias said. She'd probably have fought beside us. I believe that. They salvaged what they could, a few tools that had been outside, some food stored in the root cellar that hadn't burned. It wasn't much, but it was enough to start over. What now? Sarah asked. Now we rebuild. Elias looked at the ruins. We build bigger, stronger, so next time, there won't be a next time. They won't come back. Maybe not, but if they do, he smiled. We'll be ready." They walked back to the McAllisters' farm as the sun rose, exhausted, filthy, but alive. Mrs. McAllister met them at the door. "Thank God, we heard the shooting." She stopped. "Where's the cabin?" "Gone," Sarah said. "But you're alive." "We are." Mrs. McAllister pulled them both into a hug. "Then that's all that matters." Inside, Willa was sleeping peacefully in a basket. Sarah picked her up, held her close, breathed in her baby smell. "Hey, little one," she whispered. "Mama's here, Papa's here, we're okay." Willa opened her eyes, smiled, reached for Elias. He took her gently, and for the first time in hours he smiled too. "Our girl," he said. "Our family," Sarah corrected. They sat together in the McAllisters' barn, the three of them, and watched the dawn break over the mountains. The cabin was gone. Their home was ash. But they were alive, together, unbroken, and that Sarah realized was more than enough. That was everything. They stayed with the McAllisters for 2 weeks, while Elias healed from burns on his hands and a bullet graze across his ribs he hadn't mentioned during the fight. "You got shot and didn't tell me," Sarah demanded, cleaning the wound. "Didn't seem important at the time." "Not important, Elias. We were busy not dying. This could wait." He winced as she pressed too hard. "Can you be gentler?" "No." But her hands softened anyway. Mr. McAllister brought them supplies, nails, lumber, tools. "From the folks in the valley," he explained. "Word got out about what happened, about how you stood up to the Reverend. People want to help." "Why?" Elias asked. "Most of them hate me." Maybe they did, but hate's a hard thing to hold on to when you see a man fight 30 men to protect his family. Mr. McAllister set down a bag of flour. "You got more friends than you think, Boon." Sarah watched wagons arrive over the next few days. Families she'd never met bringing food blankets, seed for planting. An old woman pressed a quilt into her hands. "For the baby," the woman said. "Every child deserves something soft." Sarah's eyes burned. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Thank your man. He delivered my grandson 3 years back when the doctor refused to come, said we couldn't pay enough." The woman squeezed Sarah's hand. "He wouldn't take a cent. Just ask me to pay it forward someday, so I am." After the woman left, Sarah found Elias in the barn sharpening an axe. "You delivered her grandson." "Maybe, I don't remember everyone." "She said you wouldn't take payment." Elias kept sharpening. "Didn't do it for money." "Why did you do it?" He finally looked at her. "Because Ayanna taught me that medicine isn't about money. It's about people, about helping when you can." He tested the blade. "Besides, that baby was breech. Would have killed them both if someone didn't do something." Sarah sat beside him. "You're a good man." "Keep saying that. Maybe I'll start believing it." "You should. Everyone else does." 3 weeks after the fire, they went back up the mountain. The ruins looked worse in daylight. Charred wood, twisted metal, everything they'd built reduced to ash and memory. But Elias walked through it with purpose, kicking at debris, measuring distances with his steps. "What are you doing?" Sarah asked. "Planning." He picked up a piece of burned timber, tossed it aside. "The new cabin's going here, same spot, but bigger this time." "Elias, we barely have enough to survive the winter. Then we work harder." He turned to her. "I'm not letting them win, Sarah. They burned our home thinking they could break us. I say we build something better, something stronger, show them we're not going anywhere." Sarah looked at Willa strapped to her back in a carrier Mr. McAllister had made. The baby was chewing on her fist, oblivious to everything. "Okay," Sarah said. "We rebuild." They broke ground the next day. Elias did most of the heavy work despite his injuries. Sarah helped where she could, hauling stones, mixing mud for chinking, keeping Willa entertained. Mr. McAllister came up twice a week with his sons. They'd work from dawn to dusk, then head back down before dark. "You don't have to do this," Elias told him. "I know." Mr. McAllister hammered another nail. But you pulled me out of a burning building. Least I can do is help you build a new one." By late summer, the frame was up. By fall, they had walls and a roof. It wasn't finished, but it was livable. The first night they slept in the new cabin, Sarah lay awake listening to the wind. "What are you thinking?" Elias asked. "That we did it. We actually did it. We're not done yet." "I know, but we're here. We survived. We rebuilt." She turned to look at him in the darkness. "A year ago, I was ready to die in the snow. Now I'm lying in a home we built with our own hands. That means something." Elias pulled her closer. "It means you're tougher than you think." "We both are." Winter came hard and fast. Snow piled 6 feet high. The temperature dropped so low that water froze in the kettle. But the new cabin held, stayed warm, kept them safe. Willa learned to walk properly that winter. She'd toddle from Sarah to Elias, laughing when they caught her. She started saying real words. "Mama" in first, then "Papa." The first time she said it, Elias froze. "Did she just Papa?" Willa repeated, reaching for him. Elias picked her up. His hands were shaking. "I'm not your papa, little one. Your papa was a good man named James, a brave man." "You're her papa now," Sarah said softly. "James would want that. He'd want her to have a father who loves her. I'm not trying to replace him. You're not. You're just being who she needs you to be." Sarah touched his face. "That's not replacement. That's love." Elias held Willa tight, pressed his forehead to hers. Okay, I'm your papa, but you're going to hear stories about your first papa too, about how brave he was, how much he loved your mama. Deal?" Willa patted his scarred cheek. "Papa." Elias laughed, actually laughed, and Sarah felt something in her chest settle into place. They were a family now, real and whole and unbreakable. In early spring, a stranger rode up the mountain. Young man, well-dressed, nervous. Elias met him on the porch, rifle in hand. "Help you? Are you Elias Boon?" "Depends who's asking." "My name's Daniel Foster. I'm a journalist from Denver." The man dismounted carefully, hands visible. "I'm writing a story about the clash between Reverend Whitmore and a mountain man, about what happened here last fall." "Not interested." Elias turned to go inside. "Please, just 5 minutes." Daniel pulled out a notebook. "People need to hear the truth, about what the Reverend did, about why you fought." "People don't care about truth. They care about gossip." "Maybe, but what if they surprise you?" Daniel stepped forward. "What if your story helps someone else? Some other family being persecuted for loving across lines society draws." Elias stopped, looked back at the journalist, at his earnest face, his hope. "Sarah," Elias called, "come out here." Sarah emerged with Willa on her hip. She saw the stranger and tensed. "It's okay," Elias said. "He's a writer, wants to tell our story." "Why?" "Because people should know what happened," Daniel said. "They should know that you survived, that love survived." Sarah looked at Elias. Some silent conversation passed between them. Finally she nodded. "Okay, but you tell it right. You tell it true." "I will. I promise." They spent the afternoon talking. Daniel asked questions, took notes, let them tell their story in their own words. When he finally left, he shook both their hands. "Thank you for trusting me with this." "Don't make us regret it," Elias warned. "I won't." 6 weeks later, a copy of the Denver Post arrived at the McAllister's farm. They brought it up the mountain. Sarah read the article aloud while Elias pretended to work on a chair. The headline read, "Love Against All Odds, the story of Sarah Whitmore and Elias Boon." Daniel had written everything: James's hanging, Sarah's journey through the blizzard, Elias saving Willa, the attack, the fire, the rebuilding. But he'd also written about the people who'd helped, about the valley coming together, about love being stronger than hate. The final paragraph made Sarah's voice crack. "In a time when our nation remains divided, when prejudice and fear threaten to tear us apart, 2 people on a Montana mountain prove that love, real, sacrificial, unconditional love, can build bridges where hate builds walls. Their story is not just about survival. It's about hope. And in 1875, hope might be the bravest thing of all. Sarah set down the paper, wiped her eyes. Well, Elias asked. He told it true. Good. Letters started arriving after that. Dozens of them, from people all over the country. Some thanked them, some shared their own stories of forbidden love and family rejection. Some just wanted to say they weren't alone. Sarah read every letter, answered as many as she could. Elias pretended not to care, but she caught him reading them when he thought she wasn't looking. One letter came from a woman in Boston. Her son had fallen in love with an Irish immigrant. Her husband wanted to disown the boy. I read your story, the woman wrote, and I realized my son's happiness is more important than what my husband's business partners think. Thank you for showing me what real love looks like, what real family means. Sarah tucked that letter into her Bible, kept it like a treasure. Summer came. The garden flourished. Willa turned 2 and became a tiny tyrant demanding stories and attention and more time outside. She's just like you, Elias told Sarah. She's just like you, stubborn, determined. Then she's like both of us, God help her. They laughed about that, laughed a lot these days. One evening while Willa played near the creek, Sarah asked the question that had been building for months. Do you think about them, Ayanna and your son? Elias was quiet for a long moment. Every day. Does it hurt less? No, but it hurts different now. He watched Willa splash in the water. I used to think about what I lost. Now I think about what they gave me, the time I had with Ayanna, the dreams we had for our son. Those things are still real, even if they're gone. Do you think they'd be happy about us? I know Ayanna would be. She used to say love isn't finite, that loving someone new doesn't mean loving someone else less. He looked at Sarah. She was right. I love you, Sarah, and I still love her. Both things are true. Sarah took his hand. I love you, and I still love James. Both things are true for me too. Then we're lucky. We got to love twice in one lifetime. Most people don't even get that once. They sat by the creek until sunset, watching Willa play, and felt the presence of those they'd lost, like a blessing instead of a wound. In late summer, a wagon rolled up the mountain. Fancy, well-maintained. A man stepped out, older, distinguished. He wore a marshal's star. Elias met him on the porch. Marshal, Mr. Boon, Mrs. Boon. The marshal tipped his hat. I'm Marshal James Garrett. I've been investigating the events of last fall, the attack on your property. Sarah's stomach dropped. Are we in trouble? No, ma'am, quite the opposite. Garrett pulled out some papers. I've taken statements from multiple witnesses, including several of Reverend Whitmore's own men. They testified that the Reverend ordered the attack, that he burned the McAllister farm, that he's been using his position to terrorize anyone who disagrees with his views. What does that mean? Elias asked. It means Reverend Whitmore is under arrest. He's been charged with arson, attempted murder, and conspiracy. He'll stand trial in Denver next month. Sarah couldn't breathe. My father's going to prison. If the jury convicts, yes, and based on the evidence, they will. Garrett tucked the papers away. I know he's your father, ma'am. If you'd rather not testify, I'll testify. Sarah's voice was steady. Sure. I'll tell them everything, what he did to James, to us, to anyone who didn't fit his view of righteousness. Garrett nodded. The territory appreciates your courage. After he left, Sarah stood on the porch, shaking. Elias wrapped his arms around her from behind. You okay? I don't know. He's my father. I should feel something. Sadness, guilt, something. What do you feel? Sarah thought about it. Really thought. Relief? I feel relief. Then that's okay. You don't owe him anything. Not love, not forgiveness, not guilt. He's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. He's going to spend the rest of his life paying for what he did. There's a difference. Sarah leaned back against Elias's chest. Is it wrong that I hope they convict him? No, it's human. They stood there until Willa called for them from inside. The trial happened in October. Sarah and Elias made the 3-day journey to Denver with Willa. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, townspeople, families of the men who'd died in the attack. Reverend Whitmore sat at the defendant's table looking smaller than Sarah remembered. Older, broken. He didn't look at her once during the entire trial. Sarah testified for 2 hours. She told them everything. About James, about the hanging, about her father's rejection, about the attack. The defense attorney tried to shake her testimony. Isn't it true, Mrs. Boon, that you ran away from home, that you abandoned your father? I didn't abandon him. He disowned me. There's a difference. Isn't it true that you lived with Mr. Boon for months before marrying him, that you committed adultery? My husband was dead. That's not adultery. That's surviving. Isn't it true that your father was simply trying to bring you home, that he wanted to help you? If he wanted to help, he wouldn't have burned our cabin. He wouldn't have tried to kill the man I love. He wouldn't have made me choose between my faith and my family. Sarah's voice broke. A real father loves his child, even when he doesn't understand her choices. My father loved his reputation more than he loved me. That's not help, that's hatred. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged his gavel, but Sarah had said what needed saying. Elias testified next. He was calm, factual. He described the attack in detail, named the men who'd died, explained how he'd fought to protect his family. Did you want to kill those men? The prosecutor asked. No, I wanted them to leave, to let us live in peace, but they wouldn't. So I did what I had to do. Do you regret it? Elias looked at Sarah, at Willa sleeping in her arms. No, I regret that it was necessary, but I don't regret protecting my family. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. They came back with a verdict guilty on all counts. Reverend Whitmore showed no emotion as the judge sentenced him to 20 years in territorial prison. As the marshals led him away, he finally looked at Sarah. She thought she'd feel something. Triumph, sadness, closure. Instead, she felt nothing. He was a stranger now, someone who'd once been her father, but wasn't anymore. She turned away, took Elias's hand, walked out of the courtroom into the Denver sunshine. You okay? Elias asked. Yeah, I am. Want to go home? Home. The words settled warm in Sarah's chest. Yeah, let's go home. They made it back to the mountain 3 days later, exhausted, relieved, ready to put the past behind them for good. Winter came again, their second winter in the new cabin. Willa turned 3 and decided she wanted to learn everything: how to cook, how to track animals, how to read. Sarah taught her letters. Elias taught her the names of trees and birds and stars. Why's that one called the Big Dipper? Willa asked one night, pointing at the sky. Because it looks like a dipper, a spoon for scooping water, Elias explained. Can I scoop water from the sky? Not that kind of water, star water. What's star water? Magic, Sarah said, pulling Willa onto her lap. Pure magic. Willa thought about that. I want star water. Me too, little one, me too. They sat outside until the cold drove them in, Willa asking a million questions, Sarah and Elias answering as best they could. One night in deep winter, after Willa was asleep, Sarah asked Elias a question she'd been holding for weeks. Do you want more children? Elias looked up from the knife he was sharpening. Do you? I asked first. He set down the knife. Yeah, I do, but only if you do. I know carrying Willa was hard. I know childbirth is dangerous. If you don't want to risk it again, I want to. Sarah moved closer to him. I want Willa to have siblings. I want this cabin full of noise and chaos and love. I want... She stopped, started again. I want to build something bigger than just survival. I want to build a legacy. Elias pulled her close, kissed her temple. Then let's build it together. 6 months later, Sarah discovered she was pregnant. She told Elias while they were working in the garden. He dropped the shovel, picked her up, spun her around despite her protests. Careful, you'll hurt the baby. The baby's fine, you're fine, we're all fine. He set her down gently, cupped her face. We're having a baby. We're having a baby." They grinned at each other like idiots. Willa, playing nearby, looked up. "What's a baby?" "You're getting a little brother or sister," Sarah explained. Willa's face scrunched up. "Why?" "Because we want more people to love." "Oh." Willa went back to playing. "Okay." Sarah and Elias laughed until their sides hurt. The pregnancy was easier than her first. No stress, no running, no fear, just Sarah growing round and slow while Elias fussed over her and Willa talked to her belly like the baby could already hear. "Hello, baby, this is your big sister. I'm going to teach you everything. Don't be scared. Mama and Papa are nice, most of the time." Sarah went into labor on a spring morning, early, fast. Elias delivered the baby himself, his hands steady despite the fear in his eyes. A boy, healthy, strong lungs. "He's perfect," Elias breathed, holding his son for the first time. "What do we name him?" Sarah asked. Elias looked at the baby, at Sarah, at Willa peeking through the doorway. "Thomas," he said quietly, "after my son, and James Thomas Boon, so he carries both our pasts with him." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "That's perfect." Little James, they called him Jamie to avoid confusion, was a easy baby. He ate well, slept well, smiled early. Willa was fascinated by him. She'd sit for hours just watching him sleep. "He's boring," she announced one day. "All babies are boring at first," Elias said. "Wait until he can play, then you'll have fun." "How long?" "Few years." Willa sighed dramatically. "That's forever." But she loved him anyway, would bring him rocks and leaves and interesting sticks. "Look, Jamie, look what I found." Jamie would grab whatever she offered and try to eat it. "No, no, no," Willa would say, pulling it from his mouth. "You don't eat rocks, you look at rocks." Sarah and Elias watched their children grow and felt blessed beyond measure. 4 years passed like water. Peaceful years, happy years. Jamie learned to walk, to talk, to follow Willa everywhere like a devoted shadow. Willa started helping Sarah with cooking and Elias with trapping. She was smart, quick, asked questions about everything. "Why do we pray before meals?" she asked one night. "To say thank you," Sarah explained. "For the food, for each other, for being alive. Who do we thank? God, the universe, whatever you believe in." Willa thought about that. "I believe in Mama and Papa and Jamie and the mountains. Is that okay?" "That's more than okay, sweetheart. That's perfect." They built a life from ashes, a real life, full and rich and ordinary in the best possible way. People from the valley started coming up the mountain when they were sick or hurt. Elias would treat them, wouldn't take payment unless they insisted. "You're building a practice," Sarah observed. "I'm helping people. There's a difference." "There's not. And that's okay. You're a healer, Elias, always have been." He didn't argue with that. On Willa's 7th birthday, she asked about her first father for the first time. "Mama, what was James like?" Sarah and Elias exchanged glances. They'd been waiting for this question. "He was brave," Sarah began, "and kind. He had the biggest heart of anyone I've ever known." "Bigger than Papa's." "Different from Papa's. Both big, both good." Sarah pulled Willa onto her lap even though she was getting too big for it. "He loved you so much, sweetheart, even though he never got to meet you. He knew about you, and he was so happy." "Why did he die?" Sarah's throat closed. Elias took over. "He died because people were afraid of love they didn't understand. Because the world wasn't ready for someone like him. Someone who could see past the lines people draw between different kinds of people." "That's stupid." "Yeah, it was." "Did you know him, Papa?" "No, but I wish I had." "Your mama says he was a good man. That's enough for me." Willa was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I'm glad I have 2 papas, even if one's in heaven." Elias's eyes got shiny. "Me too, little one. Me too." That night, after the children were asleep, Sarah found Elias behind the cabin standing at Ayanna's grave. She stood beside him in comfortable silence. "You think they're watching?" Elias asked. "Ayanna and James and Thomas. I hope so." "You think they're happy with how things turned out?" I think they're glad we found each other, that we didn't let grief destroy us. Sarah took his hand. I think they're proud. Elias squeezed her hand. Yeah, me too. They stood there under the stars, two people who'd survived impossible things and felt grateful for every impossible day that followed. Inside, their children slept safely. Outside, the mountains stood guard. And somewhere in the space between, love proved itself stronger than hate, hope stronger than despair, and family stronger than blood. They'd built something real from nothing, something that would outlast them both. And that was enough, more than enough. That was everything. 12 winters had passed since that first knock on the door. Willa was 14 now, tall and strong, with her father's dark hair and her mother's fierce eyes. She could track a deer through 3 miles of forest, shoot a rifle better than most men, and read Latin from the books travelers sometimes brought. Jamie was 10 quieter than his sister, but just as determined. He followed Elias everywhere, learning medicine, learning patience, learning how to heal instead of hurt. Sarah stood at the kitchen window watching them work in the garden. Gray streaked her hair now, lines creased her face, but her hands were steady and her heart was full. You're thinking too loud, Elias said from behind her. She smiled without turning, just remembering. Remembering what? The woman I was, the one who thought dying in the snow was easier than living. Elias wrapped his arms around her waist. His own hair had gone mostly gray. His hands were scarred from years of work, but his embrace still felt like home. That woman was stronger than she knew, he said. That woman was terrified. Strength and terror aren't opposites. They're partners. He kissed her temple. You taught me that. Outside, Willa threw a dirt clod at Jamie. He shrieked and chased her around the garden. Their laughter carried through the open window. We did good, Sarah said softly. We did better than good. We did impossible. That afternoon, a rider came up the mountain. Young woman, native features. She rode like she'd been born on a horse. Elias met her on the porch. Help you. Are you Elias Boon, the doctor? I'm Elias Boon, not sure I'm a doctor anymore. My village needs you. Sickness came 3 days ago. Fever, red spots, children are dying. Her voice cracked. Our medicine woman tried everything. Nothing works. Elias's face went grim. Measles. I don't know the white name, but yes. Red spots. High fever. How many sick? 20, maybe more. Elias turned to Sarah. She was already packing supplies. I'm coming with you, she said. Sarah, we're partners. Remember, she looked at him. Besides, you'll need help, and I know your medicine now as well as you do. Elias wanted to argue, but he knew that look. He'd never won an argument against that look. Willa, he called, you're in charge. Keep your brother safe. We'll be back in a few days. Willa appeared in the doorway, already holding a rifle. I know, be careful. Always am. That's a lie, but I love you anyway. Elias laughed, hugged her tight, did the same to Jamie. Then he and Sarah mounted their horses and followed the young woman down the mountain. The village was a day's ride north. Small, maybe 30 families, a mix of Shoshone and white settlers who'd learned to live together. The sick were gathered in a large lodge. The smell hit Sarah first. Sweat, sickness, fear. Jesus, she whispered. Elias was already moving, checking patience, assessing severity. His hands moved with practiced efficiency. You, he said to the young woman who'd brought them. What's your name? Naira. Naira, I need you to organize the healthy people. We need fresh water boiling constantly. We need cloths, clean ones, and we need to separate the sick from the healthy. Anyone showing symptoms stays here. Everyone else moves to different lodges. Will that stop it? No, but it'll slow it down. He turned to Sarah. We need willow bark, yarrow, anything to bring down fevers. I'll find it. Sarah was already heading for the door. She spent the next 3 hours gathering herbs from the forest, teaching village women how to brew the medicines, showing them how to cool fevered bodies without shocking them. Elias worked through the night, treating patients, holding hands, whispering comfort to children who cried for mothers too sick to comfort them back. 2 children died the first night. Elias sat outside the lodge at dawn, his head in his hands. Sarah found him there, sat beside him, said nothing. "I was too late," Elias said finally. "You came as fast as you could." "It wasn't fast enough. It never feels like enough. But you're here now, fighting. That matters." "Does it? If children still die?" "Yes." Sarah took his face in her hands, made him look at her. "Every person you save matters. Every hour you buy them matters. Every moment of comfort you give matters. Don't you dare diminish that." Elias's eyes filled. "I'm tired, Sarah. I know, love, I know." She pulled him close. "But we're not done yet. There are still people who need us." He nodded against her shoulder, then stood, went back inside. They worked for 6 days straight. The measles spread despite their efforts. 30 people sick became 40. 40 became 50. But then slowly people started recovering. Fevers broke, rashes faded. Children who'd been unconscious woke up asking for food. By the end of the second week, the worst was over. 15 people had died, 35 survived. The village elder, an old Shoshone man named Running Bear, approached Elias and Sarah as they prepared to leave. "You saved my people," he said in accented English. "Not all of them," Elias replied. "No, but many, without you all, would have died." Running Bear pressed something into Elias's hand. "This belonged to my grandfather. Now it belongs to you." Elias opened his palm, a small carved bear, beautiful, ancient. "I can't accept this. You can, you will." Running Bear smiled. "You carry medicine in your hands and kindness in your heart. That is rare. That is sacred. Honor us by accepting." Elias's throat worked. He nodded. "Thank you." Running Bear turned to Sarah. "And you, woman who walks beside the healer. You have strong spirit. Your children are blessed." "Thank you," Sarah whispered. As they rode away, Naira ran after them. "Wait." They stopped. She was breathless. "I want to learn what you do, how you heal. Will you teach me?" Elias looked at Sarah. She smiled. "Come to our cabin when the snow melts." Elias told Naira, "Stay as long as you need. I'll teach you everything I know." Naira's face lit up. "Thank you, thank you." They rode home through spring rain, exhausted, grieving the ones they'd lost, grateful for the ones they'd saved. Willa and Jamie met them at the door. Both threw themselves at their parents. "You're back," Willa breathed. "We're back," Sarah confirmed. "Did you save them?" Jamie asked. "Some of them," Elias said. "Not all, but some." Jamie thought about that. "Some is better than none." "Yes, son, it is." That night, after the children were asleep, Sarah found Elias sitting by the fire, staring at the carved bear. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "That I've spent 12 years hiding on this mountain, helping when people came to me, but maybe—" He stopped, started again. "Maybe I should be going to them, seeking out places that need help. You want to leave?" "No, God, no. This is home, your home." He looked at her. "But maybe we could do both. Stay here most of the year, but go when we're needed. Teach people like Naira. Build something bigger than just us." Sarah sat beside him. "You want to train healers." "I want to make sure what I know doesn't die with me. I want—" His voice caught. "Ayana used to say knowledge is sacred, that hoarding it is a sin. Maybe she was right. Maybe I've been selfish, keeping it all to myself." "You haven't been selfish. You've been healing." "Then maybe it's time to do both." Sarah took his hand. "Okay, we'll do both. Together. Always together. Always." Over the next 5 years, their cabin became something unexpected. A school, a clinic, a place where wounded people came to heal and curious people came to learn. Naira came that first summer, stayed 3 months, learned everything she could, went back to her village a healer. Others followed, young people, old people, white and native, and everything between. Elias turned no one away who was willing to work and learn. Willa and Jamie helped teach. Willa focused on practical skills surgery, setting bones, emergency medicine. Jamie taught herbs and remedies and gentle healing. Sarah managed everything else, kept the household running, made sure everyone was fed, became the heart that held the whole operation together. "You're building a legacy," Mr. McAllister said one day, visiting with supplies. "I'm just teaching," Elias replied. "It's the same thing." Maybe it was. Willa turned 18 and announced she wanted to go to medical school back east. "Medical school doesn't accept women," Elias said gently. "Then I'll be the first." Willa's jaw was set, stubborn. "You taught me everything you know, but there's more to learn. New techniques, new medicines. I want to bring them back here, help more people." Sarah looked at Elias, saw the pride and fear warring in his eyes. "You'll write," Sarah said. "Every week." "Every week," Willa promised. "And you'll come home for summers." "Every summer. And you'll be careful. Cities are dangerous." "Mama," Willa hugged her tight. "I'll be fine. You raised me to be strong, remember?" Sarah's eyes burned. "I remember." They sent Willa east that fall with letters of recommendation from every doctor within 100 miles, with money saved from years of careful work, with love enough to last a lifetime. The cabin felt empty without her, but letters came regularly. Willa was thriving, fighting for her place, winning more battles than she lost. "I met a professor who studied under Dr. Blackwell." One letter read, "The first woman doctor in America. He says I remind him of her, stubborn and brilliant. I told him I learned from the best. Tell Papa I love him. Tell Jamie I miss him. Tell Mama I'm eating enough. I promise." Sarah read that letter aloud 3 times, cried through every reading. "She's going to change the world," Elias said. "She already has, just by existing." Jamie stayed home. At 15, he announced he had no interest in leaving. "This mountain is mine," he said simply. "These people are mine. Why would I go somewhere else?" "To see the world," Sarah suggested. "I see the world every day. I see it in the people who come here. I see it in the stories they tell. That's enough for me." He was so much like Elias it hurt. Quiet, steady, content with small circles and deep roots. "Besides," Jamie added, "someone needs to stay and help Papa. He's getting old." "I'm not old," Elias protested. "Papa, you're almost 60. That's old." 60 isn't." Elias stopped, realized Jamie was right. "When did I get 60? Sarah laughed. "One day at a time, same as everyone else." But Elias was slowing down. His hands weren't as steady. His back hurt after long days. He needed reading glasses now. "I hate getting old," he grumbled one morning. "Better than the alternative," Sarah pointed out. "Is it, though?" "Yes, because you're here, with me, with Jamie, getting to see Willa become a doctor, getting to teach the next generation. That's not something to hate." Elias pulled her close. "When did you get so wise?" "I married a wise man. Some of it rubbed off." They were sitting like that, wrapped in each other, when Jamie burst through the door. "Someone's coming, 3 riders. They look official." Elias and Sarah exchanged glances. Official visitors were rarely good news. They met the riders on the porch. The lead man wore a marshal's star, but he was smiling. "Elias Boon, that's me. I'm Marshal Webb. I've been asked to deliver this." He handed over an official-looking document. Elias opened it, read it. His face went pale. "What is it?" Sarah asked. "It's..." His voice cracked. "It's a commendation from the territorial governor for service to the community, for training healers, for saving lives." He looked up. "They want to give me a medal." "A medal?" Jamie's eyes went wide. "There's more," Marshal Webb said. "The governor wants to establish an official medical training program based on what you've built here, wants to fund it, make it permanent." Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. "You'd remain in charge," Webb continued. "Train as many people as you want. The territory would provide supplies, funding support. All you have to do is say yes. Elias looked at Sarah, at Jamie, at the cabin that had become so much more than just a home. "Can I think about it?" he asked. "Of course, take your time." Webb tipped his hat. "It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Boon. What you've done here, what you and your family have done, it matters more than you know." After the marshals left, Elias sat on the porch steps, staring at the document. "What are you thinking?" Sarah asked. "That I never wanted recognition, never wanted fame. I just wanted to help people. And now you can help more people, officially, with support." Sarah sat beside him. "Isn't that what you wanted?" "I don't know what I wanted. I just knew what felt right." "Then ask yourself, does this feel right?" Elias was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Yeah, it does." They accepted the governor's offer. Over the next 3 years, the cabin complex grew. New buildings, a proper clinic, dormitories for students, a library filled with medical texts. Elias trained 50 healers in those 3 years. 50 people who went out into the territory and beyond, carrying knowledge, saving lives, building bridges between communities. Naira came back as an instructor, taught traditional medicine alongside Elias's Western techniques, showed how both could work together. "This is what healing should be," she said. "All knowledge, all people, working together." Willa came home after 4 years with a medical degree and a fierce determination to prove herself. "They tried to stop me," she told them. "Said women were too delicate for medicine. I told them my mother walked through a blizzard to save her child, and my father fought 30 men to protect his family. That delicate isn't in my blood." Sarah hugged her so tight Willa squeaked. "I'm so proud of you." "Couldn't have done it without you, either of you." Willa looked at Elias. "Thank you, Papa, for teaching me that healing is about people, not pride, about service, not status." Elias couldn't speak, just pulled her into his arms and held on. Willa stayed, set up her own practice in the valley, became the first woman doctor in Montana Territory, faced prejudice and doubt and outright hostility with the same fierce determination she'd inherited from both her parents. Jamie took over more and more of Elias's teaching duties as the years passed. Patient, thorough, kind. "He's better than I ever was," Elias admitted one day. "He learned from the best," Sarah said, "and he added his own gifts. That's how it should be." When did our children get so remarkable? They were always remarkable. We just gave them room to grow. On their 20th anniversary, 20 years since that first desperate knock on the door, the whole valley came to celebrate. Families they'd helped, students they'd taught, people whose lives had been touched by their story. Someone had even brought the old Denver Post article. Yellowed now, fragile, but the words still true. "Love against all odds." Sarah read aloud. "Feels like a different lifetime." "Feels like yesterday," Elias countered. "Both," Sarah decided. "It's both." That night, after everyone left, they sat on the porch watching the stars. "Do you ever regret it?" Sarah asked. "All of it. The fighting, the struggle." "Not for a second." Elias took her hand. "Every scar was worth it. Every battle, every moment of fear. It brought me here, to you, to them, to this. Even losing Ayanna, your son. I'll never stop grieving them, but I don't regret the time I had, and I don't regret building something new from that grief." He looked at her. "Love isn't about replacing what you lost. It's about honoring it by living fully anyway." Sarah leaned her head on his shoulder. "James would have liked you. I would have liked him too. Any man who loved you couldn't be all bad." She laughed. "That's the nicest thing you've never said." "I say nice things. Not often. But when you do, they count." They sat in comfortable silence until Sarah spoke again. "What do you think happens after? After what? After all this? After we're gone? Do you think they'll remember us?" Elias considered. "I think they'll remember the work, the healing, the teaching. That's enough. I want them to remember the love too, that two broken people found each other and built something beautiful. They will. It's impossible not to. He kissed her temple. We changed things, Sarah, not just for us, for everyone who came after. That's legacy. That's immortality. 5 more years passed. Elias was 68 now, moving slower, sleeping more. His hands shook sometimes, but he still taught, still healed, still found joy in every small victory. One morning he didn't wake up. Sarah found him in bed, peaceful, a slight smile on his face, like he'd died dreaming something wonderful. She sat beside him for a long time, held his hand, remembered every moment from that first night to this last morning. "Thank you," she whispered, "for opening the door, for fighting for us, for loving me when I didn't think I deserved love." Tears streamed down her face. "I'll see you again, you and Ayanna, you and James, all of us together, but not yet. I still have work to do." They buried him beside Ayanna and Thomas, 3 graves now under the pine tree. The funeral drew hundreds, students, patients, friends, strangers whose lives he'd touched without knowing. Willa spoke, her voice steady despite the tears. "My father taught me that healing isn't about fixing broken things. It's about sitting with someone in their brokenness and showing them they're not alone. He did that for my mother, for me, for Jamie, for all of you. And the greatest gift we can give him is to keep doing it, to keep healing, keep loving, keep fighting for what's right, even when the world says it's wrong." Jamie spoke next, quieter, but no less powerful. "Papa used to say that medicine is about people, not pride, that the best healing happens when you remember you're treating a human being, not a problem to solve. I'll carry that with me forever, and I'll teach it to my children, and they'll teach it to theirs, so that Elias Boon's legacy lives on long after his name is forgotten." Sarah spoke last, barely holding herself together. 25 years ago, I knocked on a stranger's door and begged him to bury my child. He looked at me, this scared, broken woman, and said, "She's still breathing." That's who Elias was, someone who saw life where others saw death, hope where others saw despair, family where others saw strangers. He saved my daughter that night, but he saved me too, and I'll spend the rest of my days making sure the world knows what a remarkable man walked among us. Sarah lived another 10 years. She taught. She healed. She wrote down everything, their story, Elias's techniques, the lessons they'd learned. She watched Willa become one of the most respected doctors in the West, watched Jamie train a new generation of healers, watched their children have children. She met her grandchildren, told them stories about their grandfather, about their first grandfather James, about love that crossed boundaries and survived impossible odds. "You come from fighters," she told them, "people who chose love over hate, hope over despair. That's your legacy. Don't ever forget it." On her last day, surrounded by family, Sarah closed her eyes and smiled. She was 83. She'd lived a full life, a remarkable life, a life that mattered. Her last words were, "He's here, Elias is here, and James, they're both here." Then she was gone. They buried her between Elias and the space she'd always left for James. 3 people who'd loved her, 3 people she'd loved back. On the headstone, Willa carved words her mother had spoken often: "Love builds bridges where hate builds walls." And below that, "She's still breathing, and so am I." 50 years later, the Boone Medical Institute stood as the premier healing center in Montana, training hundreds of doctors every year, teaching that medicine is about people, not pride, that healing happens when you see the humanity in everyone. The original cabin still stood, preserved, a museum now where visitors could see where it all started, where Sarah knocked and Elias answered and everything changed. Tour guides told the story to wide-eyed children, about a widow and a hermit, about forbidden love and impossible survival, about 2 people who chose to fight when giving up would have been easier. But the real legacy wasn't in buildings or books or stories. It was in the healers trained in their methods, the lives saved by their students, the families who chose love over tradition, hope over fear. It was in every person who heard their story, and thought if they could survive that, I can survive this. It was in the knowledge that love, real, sacrificial, unconditional love, could change the world one person at a time, one choice at a time, one knock on a door at a time. Sarah Whitmore Boon had begged a stranger to bury her child, and that stranger said no, she's still breathing. And because of that choice, because of that refusal to give up, thousands of people kept breathing who otherwise wouldn't have. That was legacy. That was immortality. That was everything that mattered and everything that would last long after the snow covered the mountain and the stars dimmed and the world forgot their names but remembered their love.